For a session presented by Red Sea Global, please welcome the Executive Director of Destination Development for Red Sea Global, Rosanna Chopra, in conversation with Skift President Carolyn Kremins.
Hello again. I hope you're all well fed and you still have energy. I'm here with Rosanna. Rosanna represents Red Sea Global. How many of you are familiar with Red Sea? Many of you. So Red Sea in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I have had the pleasure over the last few years of interviewing several other executives from Red Sea, and I think the one thing that always comes up is that at the core of it all, regenerative tourism is something that is very, very important. It's like an anchor for Red Sea. So you are in charge of destination development. From where you sit, what does regenerative tourism mean for you?
So I think destination development for Red Sea Global is not perhaps how many other destinations approach it, because we're starting from the beginning in so many ways. We have a blank canvas. I think what we have the opportunity to do is address the point of sustainability, which is arguably accepting that the status quo, that the current position is okay, and the current position is not okay. And so what we're doing is looking at ways that we can perhaps leave a destination in a better state that we found it, seek the multiples of ways that you can work with the environment, but really importantly, that the thing perhaps sustainability doesn't historically address is people, and it's the communities, and how are we regenerating communities? It really looks to that people and planet, and the two being equally vital to the survival and the improvement of both.
Right, right. So in the past, we've heard a lot about like marine biology and all the things that you're doing there. We have it up here now. I read something recently, just preparing for our conversation today, and it was a manifesto. Am I saying this Joy Equity?
Yes, Joy
Project,
Equity.
the Joy Equity Project. And John Pagano is the CEO of Red Sea, and this quote really struck me because it was really talking about regenerative tourism, but as it relates to accessibility, that there are 1.5 billion disabled people globally, and kind of shame on you, travel industry, for not really addressing them. So can you speak a little bit to that and how you're...
Well, I think that number, 1.5 billion, just to put that in some context, is actually the size of population of India. So that gives it some scale.
Right, huge.
The actual size of the accessible tourism industry by 2025 will reach 88 billion. Wow. So whether this is a moral and an ethical and a humane commitment that we're making, or whether this is just commercial good sense, wherever you sit within that, it's something that must be done. And I think what John does as a leader, and what has made him so successful, is that he empowers us to think beyond, because we have this extraordinary opportunity for the sheer scale of what we're doing. And again, for some context, the Red Sea coastline and the part that has been given to us from His Royal Highness is actually a longer stretch of coastline than the north to south of Spain. So wow. It's a huge responsibility, it's a huge mandate, but when you actually put that into context as to the scale of what we can achieve to bring down the price parity, to normalize how you look at the environment, build sustainably, build regeneratively in consideration of the marine life, the seagrasses, the mangroves. What happens if actually we challenge ourselves further and think of all people, regardless of their physical or their cognitive ability, but equally not to just look at accessibility from an actual disability, whether it's a visible one or so mental wellness is key for us. But it's also that multi-generational travel, which is, it's very much how the Indian travel is how the Arabs travel, which is a grandfather to a mother with a newborn. All of them have a lot of challenges in, how do they get a buggy? A buggy is the same as a wheelchair. My father, who's nearing 80, his knees, coming down a set of stairs from an aircraft is a challenge. So what is it looking like? And then when we talk about Joy Equity, particularly in architecture and design, because we are a developer primarily, we're also vertically integrated and we're an operator. What happens if we start challenging the architects? What happens if we start challenging engineers and technology right from the get-go, so that now every consultant mandate, every RFP that goes to market insists upon there being an adherence to the ISO guidelines set out by the UNWTO. We now won't accept a submission of a master plan unless it's in full compliance with those ISO guidelines.
So it's great because you're starting with like a blank canvas, so you're able to build with accessibility in mind. If you don't mind, I'm just going to tap into your personal story because we got to talking and you were really just so inspired. I was inspired by everything that you're actually taking from a personal standpoint and bringing it to business. Would you mind sharing your story?
Yeah, and it's actually, so the whole initiative is called Project Aurelia, which is after my daughter. She was born with a very rare brain condition. So it's actually, she has a smooth brain. And so our life has always, it's required me to sort of get off the travelator of life and step aside and have a look back at what I might have thought would be her life, and actually to not dwell on what she can't do, but be inspired by all the things she can. And I think for me, I became overwhelmed when I first came to Red Sea, and you see every single shade of blue, turquoise another, and you get overwhelmed with the responsibility to protect it. But then I immediately connected it with the moments where I've banked my happiest memories with Aurelia, and that's when we've taken her out into the natural world. That's when she's been out in nature. I mean, without sort of being too sad about this, but she was given a life expectancy of 3 years old. She's now 11. And the pediatric neurologists all put it down to the environments that we have included her in, the food that she eats, the goodness that's going in her, and that we've included her wherever possible. And so this is coming from a profoundly personal place, but also I've become quite practical. I come from a very practical family. And then you couple that with the opportunity that Saudi going through this extraordinary transformation, the leadership of His Royal Highness, the guidance and the encouragement of John. And I thought, well, if I am going to leave her and go to work to do the very thing that I love doing, let me make certain that I'm making a difference. And so she is. It's Project Aurelia. And so in all and every way, because I think some people are fearful of addressing the accessible tourism market, either because of a cost point to retrofit it, which is not something that we need to deal with if we're smart from the start. But it's also about knowing how frustrated people with physical or cognitive disabilities, or mums with babies, or grandfathers have. And they get quite frustrated and sometimes often quite angry. And I've always said to the accessibility committee that we have at Red Sea, and I've said to John, no matter who he's interfacing with, who's challenging on it, we must stay true to the little soul that inspired all of this. Because as we are approaching our environment, we consider our turtles, our endangered species. We think of them because they cannot talk to us. They cannot communicate. We have to be intuitive to their needs and their home and their environment. And in the same way as Aurelia, she cannot talk to me. So I've had to develop a serious intuition to understand what she needs. So the two things are not disconnected. In fact, for us, utterly connected, particularly when we stick to our For People and Planet mandate.
Yeah, well, I mean, thank you for sharing that. And I mean, it's a deeply profound experience, and to be able to have the higher ups that be to listen and to really then to pay attention and to act on it is really unique and also inspiring. You also talked about nature and the importance of nature, especially to someone who's disabled, and the actual power behind that. And you're talking about your equine experience. If you can share a little bit more on that as well.
So as part of destination development, there's soft programming and the experiences, the water sport, the diving, the sailing, all of which sit under my mandate. But I also have the great privilege of having a number of hard assets, which will become, hopefully, our iconic almost institutions of what we at Red Sea Global represent. And one of those is the Carolyn, which is our Marine Life Institute. The other is the Amala Yacht Club, which we hope will become the queen on the Red Sea coast crown. And then the most recent, which has been approved from His Royal Highness, is the Equestrian and the Organic Farm program, all in Amala. And Amala is going to be very unique because wellness is its critical pillar. Art, culture, these other elements are as well. And if you actually look at studying humanities, so if we look at the lofty statement of this session, you know, humanities talks to art and culture and literature, education, communication, and those are really profound to Amala. But the well-being and the wellness is central. And you will see that, I mean, we have 24 hotels will be open by the end of next year. That's near on 5,000 keys will be in our inventory. And a lot of that will be Amala. And that includes Jayasom, Clinique de Prairie, Rosewood, Four Seasons, and actually what we're able to do through our sustainability and nature programs, and now our wellness and Project Aurelia, which is not only about making it accessible and comfortable for people with disabilities to travel, but it's also considering all the disabilities you cannot see. There's a strong connection with mental health, well-being. And so with the equine program, we're working with Jayasom. In fact, all of the hotel brands, Miraval as well, Hyatt, Marriott Group, I know they're here. They're probably leaders in addressing this and pushing the boundaries. And they want to unlock all of the experiences that we have and want to work with my team to create unique experiences that are either directly connected with their brand profile or to create a unique USP that they haven't actually done elsewhere in the world. Because this is more than, you know, facials and body wraps. This is actually a much more holistic approach to wellness and well-being. And the concept behind the equestrian and the organic farm is that, as you know, behind you, you have the Hijaz Mountains, beautiful. You know, they crown the whole of the Triple Bay project, and then you have extraordinary sea in front of you. But we have this very natural growing, you know, grass and green and organic farm area, which will be a wonderful relief, both mentally but also visually and from every sense.
Wow. Well, first of all, I can't believe that we've run out of time. I could sit and talk to you all day, but it's so wonderful to see the empathy, to see the compassion, and how it's being brought to life at the Red Sea. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your story and for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.